All right, gives me great pleasure to bring on board the chairman of LIC, Mr. MR Kumar, to talk about his understanding of the economy, what is happening to the insurance sector, and where does really the economy move from here after the COVID crisis. Mr. Kumar, an absolute delight and a pleasure to have you back on ET Now. Thank you for being part of the India Revival Mission, a show where we would be debating, deliberating and discussing what the ideas which the current administration should adopt and implement to make sure that India is back on the growth track. So before we get into specifics, Mr. Kumar, I want to first start with your understanding of what is happening to the economy. In the month of March and April, it appeared that things were in a complete disarray. It appeared that we had slipped into a long-term recession, but thankfully for us, the ability of the economy to come back and the ability of the consumer to really brave out the storm is quite encouraging.
Right. I agree, Nikunj. I mean, gloom and doom was what we saw in the month of March. In fact, at LIC, we were, the first thought that came to our mind was of cash flow. And you know that a lot of claims get settled in the month of March. So, but then we were able to manage that thanks to the good system that we have in place. Basically, I believe what has happened, two things have happened from the insurance space, at least, that one, the COVID has created enormous kind of awareness among people, something that we've been wanting to do for decades and trying to do for decades. And that has happened just because of Corona. People believe that, yes, insurance is the primary financial product that, I should have with me before I think of anything else. At the same time, I think preservation of cash and money has led to this problem that we had in the month of March, April, that people were not wanting to pay their premiums, renewal premiums. And we have been working to ensure that people continue to pay it, continue to revive their policies, keep it in force, so that the very idea for which they've taken life insurance is not defeated. Otherwise, I think from month of May, June onwards, things are slowly coming on track. We have put a lot of initiatives digitally. In fact, we have encouraged our customers to pay online because they were not wanting to come out of their residences. We have tied up with Amazon, Google Pay, and whatever we had not done, maybe a year back, we have done in the last 2-3 months. And our digital collections have gone up by more than 100%.
So, Mr. Kumar, yes, insurance sector took a hit largely because of obvious reasons, as agents were not able to go on street. There was definitely a delay in terms of selling new policies. So, how much of the demand is back to pre-COVID levels? And if COVID would have not happened, how things would have panned out for LIC?
Actually, Nikunj, the 1920 was a very good year for us. In fact, 20-25% of the insurance business happens the second fortnight of March, as all of you know. Despite that not happening, we still managed to grow at more than 2.5% in numbers and around 25-30% in premiums. And that was because we had an early start to last year. Now, this year is sort of reverse. We've started very poorly. But we probably will come back to pre-COVID levels sometime in September, October. This is what I believe. We have, in the month of July, grown at almost 30% in premiums. The issue is because of social distancing, the numbers are not happening because people are not able to meet face-to-face. And that is also slowly starting to build up. So once that happens, I think by September, October, we should be back to pre-COVID.
Well, a large part of the selling for LIC is also done by agents. Do you think there is going to be a big reboot which could happen now because of adaptation of technology? Because if you look at what IT companies are indicating, what other companies are indicating, including media companies, all of us are now working from home. So adaptation of technology and adaptation of digital selling platforms, do you think that could have a one-time reboot in the way how the agent stroke, how your cost structure will move now?
Yes, Nikunj, that could possibly happen, but then I am a firm believer that the agency model is here to stay for 2-3 reasons. One is that typically customer would like to speak to somebody before he takes a decision on what kind of insurance product to buy. And even though we have online sales happening for more than a decade now, we don't see much traction happening there because people are still comfortable talking to the agents. But yes, since the whole the ecosystem is changing pro-COVID, after COVID, I believe that even agents will have to adopt the new technologies. We already have in place medical examinations being conducted through video for the customers because they do not want to venture out. Similarly, we are also preparing to launch some digital methods of doing business for the agents and the field force also. And maybe 3-4 years from now, probably things will be fully digital, no doubt. But I still believe that selling insurance will continue to happen through the agency module also.
Mr. Kumar, now LIC agents' productivity or the net productivity of LIC is one of the highest in the industry. You also have the best bank insurance tie-up, but you've not managed to capitalize on that.
True. This is something they've been working on. In fact, last year we did a lot of work on the bancassurance model after our stake purchase in IDBI Bank. In fact, IDBI Bank has been very supportive in doing insurance business. In fact, last year they had showed the highest growth in bancassurance business. We must have, I think, grown in bancassurance at around 20-25%, just like the other channels. But the greatest contribution came from IDBI Bank. We continue to work with other Axis Bank and other banks where we have tie-ups. And yes, a moment back when you talked about things happening digitally, I think this is one channel where the digital thing will happen faster than in the agency side of it. So I believe that the current year, our business in bancassurance will grow faster than it is growing in the other channels.
Okay. Now, Mr. Kumar, IDBI Bank, when we spoke last, you said that IDBI capital will grow and they will not need any more capital infusion. And so far, IDBI Bank has managed to bounce back. They managed to recover. But given that COVID crisis is forcing every bank to raise capital, will IDBI Bank also need additional support? And are you happy with that investment of LIC, a large sizable investment in IDBI Bank?
Yes, we are. You must have seen that the last 2 quarters, they have showing growth after 13 quarters. In fact, they have the best PCR, provisional coverage ratio in the entire banking industry at more than 93-94%. So we have done a lot of work on, repairing the balance sheet and then working on other core areas like retail banking, something that they were not very strong in earlier. So I think the turnaround has started to happen in IDBI Bank, and going forward, I'm very confident that this bank is going to do very well.
Removal of ATC exemption, the tax exemption, which in a sense some would argue was also motivating factor for a lot of Indians to buy insurance. Post the last union budget, if you're buying an insurance policy and if you do not opt for some benefits, you do not get the tax benefit in a universal manner. Could that have an impact on LIC sales?
I don't really think so, Nikhil. I think that is something that we have lived with for many years now, and maybe the time has come. As I said some time back, the awareness for insurance and the need for insurance has grown tremendously the last 3-4 months. So people may want to take insurance for the basic necessity that what it provides, rather than for the tax break that it gives. So I think going forward, we may not really need that.
The growth in individual policies and number of policies which LIC is selling is one of the best in the industry. But in terms of size, it's not there. Is this a conscious strategy because you need to stick to your ethos of insuring India and remain committed to your goal while other insurance companies are looking at more profitable goals? So will there always be a challenge that number of policies will be the highest sold by LIC, but the size of the policy and the premium which will be collected will be more done by the private sector?
There are two things here, Nikhil. One is when people are buying insurance only for protection, for risk, and they're going to buy term cover kind of plans, I think our ticket size and our size are quite big, and can match with the industry anywhere. But when people are buying it for savings, or typically, like you said, for some tax break, they are only looking at the amount of premium and the amount of tax they want to save. And therefore, the coverage, the ticket size comes down drastically. But like I said, that once people start looking at term cover and probably looking at how much cover they require over a period of time, and the protection business increases slowly, the other ticket sizes will also increase.
Now, a big challenge for not LIC but for the entire insurance industry, which has bulk of it their AUM essentially in government securities and debt, is that interest rates are falling. And given that interest rates are falling, do you think that would be a huge challenge for LIC now to generate superior returns? Because if you go towards equity markets, you will take risk. If you stay invested in ULIPs, if you stay invested in government securities and other debt paper, then interest rates are falling.
It will be a challenge in the long term. And therefore, what we are trying to do now this year, we had introduced on March 2nd 2 ULIP products, Nivesh Plus and SIIP, and they have started picking up now. I think with the markets down throughout and now they are coming back on track, we made use of this opportunity in April, May and June to pitch our ULIP products. They have started picking up. I think slowly we would like to, increase the percentage of sales of ULIPs vis-a-vis the other non-ULIP products to take care of what exactly you're talking about.
LIC, Mr. Kumar, has always been a contra buyer in the market. You buy bad news, you sell good news. So I'm assuming that even though numbers are not out in the public, that you were a big buyer in the market or equity market when markets fell in the month of March and April.
You're right. I can't give away any figures, but I can only tell you this, that post the lockdowns, for at least 2 months, we were only buying. We hardly sold anything. And then subsequently, we did some selling as well. But I can share this much with you today that from April 1st till day before yesterday, we made a profit of 10,000 crores.
In all probability will go public in next 12 to 18 months. If that happens, what will change for LIC both in terms of an organization and disclosures?
From the point of view of business, few things will change. There'll be a lot more disclosures, obviously right from the DHRP stage. But then we have been very compliant organization from the regulation point of view or any other point of view. So that will not change, but we are going to get a whole new set of stakeholders, shareholders. And this is something that we are preparing for. We are working on our systems, IT systems and many other things that are happening to ensure that when we, welcome most of our policyholders, I suppose will also be shareholders. So this new group of people is something that we'll have to contend with. And therefore the expectations of the shareholders and others will increase, and we have to prepare for that.
How exactly is LIC, Mr. Kumar, now planning to morph into a complete digital and a solution-based platform? You've taken steps in the digital space, but you've not had phenomenal success. Cracks are still visible.
Yeah, I know. What I was saying is that from the early 60s that we adopted technology, it was all done in-house. Right. So we have tried to escalate and try to bring in the new technology in place. Maybe the time has come for us to reach out to other fintechs and insurtechs kind of companies to find out what better things we can do. Although we are doing well, like you said, but then in terms of scale, I think we need to do something better. And that is something that we are working on right now.
How would you defend this image of LIC that LIC has always been the option of last resort, so to speak? Every time there is a problem, the administration and everybody looks up to you for some kind of a bailout.
I won't fully agree with that. I mean, this is what is said. But then in reality, what happens is there is a regulation telling us where to invest, how much to invest. We have an investment committee, we have a board. It's a board-run organization. So we do due diligence and we ensure that whatever we are doing is in the best interest of the policyholder, because ultimately it is a policyholder who has to benefit out of this whole thing. And therefore, you said some time back that government security rates are going down. Yes, to some extent that is right. But then we rebalance it with SDLs, which did better during the pandemic. And then we have overall the portfolio. You must be knowing that 20% of outstanding G6 is with LIC, which is about 12 lakh crore. And then the long run, I think this would really help us. Apart from the equity profits that we are making, which I told you some time back, and we are able to rebalance that in terms of the losses that we see in terms of drop in interest rates.
Now, where do you see growth in the insurance sector in the post-COVID scenario, especially in ULIP and the life insurance space? And has anything changed permanently in the different categories of insurance because of COVID crisis?
Right. Going back in history, Nikunj, typically insurance was sold as a savings product because people did not want to hear about, a death. And that's how it all started, and that's how LIC did business in the early 70s and 80s. Then when people started questioning that why can't insurance returns be as good as, the market returns, and therefore ULIP started taking some kind of precedence. Now, again, in ULIP, there is a risk reward issue. If the markets don't do well, you're bound to lose. So again, it will depend typically on the customer, what he wants. Does he want a very good and steady return, or he want to go take a fantastic return where there is more risk? But ultimately, we must focus on the fact that, as you rightly said, this is an insurance company. We need to give good coverage to the customer in terms of risk. Supposing somebody takes a 50 lakh, 1 crore cover, and he knows and he feels that his family is going to get the benefit if something happens to him, then the returns take a backseat. So ultimately, if insurance companies push the risk and the protection more, I think that is what we need to do in this country.
Mr. Kumar, there is a lot of market share shift which has happened in a lot of private government-dominated sectors, telecom, aviation, even manufacturing. But within the case of LIC, your market share has come down for obvious factors, but it is still very formidable. You are still the largest insurance company in India. At a time when there are 23, 24 players in the life insurance space, how have you managed to remain number one when we have seen literally a massive drop in market share of government in other businesses?
We were talking today about the agency model and whether it will continue to be viable. I think basically it's the agency model that has really helped us. If you look at the channels of online, you look at bancassurance, we hardly done very little. The private insurance companies basically were having their own bank, or the bank is owning the insurance company. So most of their business comes through bancassurance. So this is where I keep telling people that the agency model and the fact that we have 130 crore people and they need to be reached out to, it can be done only by this group of people. And this is a group that has actually done this for us. So whenever we find, and this is market share is something we don't focus on a fortnight or month-to-month basis. We do the work and we talk about that we need to grow. We need to cover more people. We need to ensure that every Indian has a life insurance policy with LIC. And once we have that kind of a, operating kind of a target, then we don't have to worry much about the market share, and that will happen on its own.
Why is LIC's persistency is weak but superior in deeper cohort? Why is that?
Yes. If you have, from the agency model, people selling insurance and going away, in the sense that he gets a job, he moves away from the agency, and there is no follow-up on the insurance. So that is where we see the first 13th month, the early part of this showing some kind of a distress. But once the agent is continuing with us and he continues to meet the customer and he ensures that the premiums are paid in time, that is where the deeper, the 5-year persistency becomes better. So this is where we are working on how at the rural and the outreach where people are not really able to do digitally pay their premiums, how we can enable them also to come on board to ensure that the persistency is maintained even without the the assistance of the agent. This is also something we are working on, and once we do that, and once we have the the customer profiling done based on who is going to pay online, who is not. And that is something that we will have to be working on constantly to ensure that persistency improves.
Mr. Kumar, I go back to that point once again, that what are the permanent changes which will happen for LIC now, both in terms of cost structure and also in terms of working from home? You know, agents already work from home. They have the individual offices. So for LIC to, let's say, implement what could be called as a new COVID normal is going to be very easy.
Just before COVID happened, we, in fact, were deliberating within the corporation, and we had presentations made on work from home. And then because, especially in a place like Mumbai, where people come by trains, local trains, and the trains are shut down now. But even before this happened, we were trying to work out something on this. So when COVID happened, I think this whole idea got accelerated. We have a lot of licenses already in place to people to work from home and to use the VPN network. And people have started working from home. In fact, in Mumbai, I think still we have only 15% attendance as per the rules. So most people in Mumbai are working from home, and we have been able to do everything, including all our market operations. In fact, the 100% of market operations have been run from home only throughout. And claim settlement and calling up customers for renewals and all that is also happening from home. So I think this is a trend that is going to stay. And we will have to find out and figure out how we're going to, create this ecosystem around it to ensure that people can work safely from home, and also the customer gets exactly what he wants.
What is your view, Mr. Kumar, in terms of consolidation happening in this sector? Frankly, with the exception of the top 5-6 players, the smaller players are not large. They don't have dominant market share. The balance sheet is not strong. Solvency ratios are not great. Do you think there is a massive consolidation waiting to happening in the sector?
If there is a real stress on solvency and other issues going forward, maybe 2021 probably will decide if that is going to happen or not. But it's too early to say.
All right, Mr. Kumar, really appreciate your time. Thank you for being part of the IRM mission and sharing your valuable inputs and valuable thoughts. And good luck to you and to LIC, the big organization and the great organization.